welcome back. Welcome back to another video. Thank you for joining me once again, and I hope you had a great day. So, I just recovered from the flu. I caught the flu like 5 days ago. It was a really bad flu. I was really sick, and it was horrible. So finally, I am now better, and I recently put up a poll, where I let you vote between ASMR content that you want me to make, and it seems like that you like to hear me tell you some scary stories from Reddit. And here we go. I am going to narrate or share you some stories from Reddit, scary stories. So I'm going to help you pay back your sleep card, your sleep credit card, and ease off your sleep debt. So let's get going. So the subreddit where I get the scary stories from is from a subreddit called nosleep. Okay, r/nosleep. And the first story is called The Thing at My Window. It is by the user gforsgren or something. Alright. So here we go. The story goes like this. I am drunk. Maybe a little too much. I am home alone while my parents are out and have spent the last few hours on my laptop with a bottle of wine. Okay. I am relishing in my rare alone time as my parents both work from home and most of my classes are online. We spend a lot of time together, so when they have a date night, I embrace it. I usually curl up in a living room with some popcorn watching a horror movie. Tonight I am spending my nights alone watching YouTube videos in my room with Chinese takeout and a bottle of Pinot Grigio or something. Okay. It's only 9 p.m. Okay. And I'm feeling especially relaxed from the white wine. I am not expecting my parents back until well after 12 a.m. They're at a party, and they said they'll be back late, past midnight. As my computer speakers blare the words of my favorite influencer's latest shopping haul, I hear a strange scraping sound in the gravel outside of my window. I paused the video. There have been cats outside since we moved here, and I've had the misfortune of hearing the kitty making noises. I have grown accustomed to hearing the cats prowling around the side yard. I keep quiet, waiting to hear the telltale sounds of the strays, so I can get back to my video and drown them out. Okay, instead, I hear slow dragging footsteps. Rather than the usual quick movements through our gravel, They seem heavier and intentional. I keep my video paused and ear cooked to the window, propped to the against the window. My blinds are tilted open as usual, and something inside me tells me to yank down the string that closes them. I slowly reach for the cord and pull the dangling string slowly to tilt the slats of the blind shut. Alright. I sit absolutely still at my desk, my hand still on the cords of the blinds. I am barely breathing. The footsteps continue, seemingly becoming even closer. As I sit frozen, I hear the slight tapping of something at my window. I try to tell myself one of the cats has probably gotten up on the windowsill and sees the light from my room, hoping for a meal. I keep listening, and the tapping turns into an unmistakable scraping of a fingernail against glass. A cat wouldn't do that. I swear I hear a hint of a laugh. I'm starting to hyperventilate. I'm home completely alone, without my parents, and don't know what to do. Am I overreacting, hearing things that aren't there? I shrink away from my desk at the window, inching towards my phone on my bed. I finally reach it and frantically type out a text to my mom. I think there's someone outside my window. What should I do? I wait for a few minutes and didn't get a response. I try to shake off the fear. I tell myself I'm just psyching myself out since I'm all by myself, okay? In the pitch black of the night, influenced by the Pinot Grigio. My parents must be very busy with their friends at their anniversary party. You're 19. You're an adult. You can take care of yourself. I continue reassuring myself. I take another sip of wine, hoping to numb my worries away. I sit on my bed, and my cat wanders into my room. He jumps up beside me, begging for his nightly scratches. It helps calm me down, and I talk to him as I pet his soft little chin. Alright. Then I hear it again, louder this time. My cat hears it too, jerking his head away to stare over at the window. Thank God the blinds are closed, and now I know I'm not imagining the taps from someone who is definitely lurking by my window. I hear you. A strange, pitched voice says. I could hear it through the glass. It is definitely the sound of a man, almost speaking to me like I am a baby. Another horrifying giggle. I reach for my cat, but he darts away to hide under the bed. I wish I could do that too. I'm now convinced he or it can hear every movement I make. What do I even do with this situation? My mom still hasn't texted me back. I don't want to call anybody. Letting whatever is outside my voice, my mind is absolutely spinning. As I sit there with my thoughts, I hear my window starting to scrape open. Crap, I didn't have it locked. My blinds are down, but I guess did not have the common sense to friggin' lock the window. When I did, fight or flight kicks in. The response of flight or flight is apparent now. Fight it is, I guess. I jump out of my bed and yank the blinds up. A scraggly, pale hand is wrapped around the frame of my window. Slowly pulling it open. The only thing I can think to do is to slam the window as hard as I can against the fingers. I hear a crunch, but when I let go, the fingers simply grip the frame harder, pushing it open again. I am full of adrenaline. I gather my strength and slam it shut again, using my fear for strength. I hear a strangled yelp outside. The hand pulls back suddenly. I still haven't looked up, despite the blinds being drawn. The disgusting hand pulls back, and I instinctively push the window completely shut and flick the lock shut. I finally look outside. A strange, tall, and lanky figure is scrambling to climb the fence of my backyard. I can only watch in horror as it manages to make it over to my neighbor's side of the fence. It was bald, wearing clothes that were barely scraps of fabric dangling from its body. As my fear starts to dissipate, I find a common sense to call 911. They send a patrol officer out, but they found no fingerprints or damage on the side of the house where my bedroom is. They even knocked on my neighbor's door to tell her that there may be someone in her yard. But there was no sign of anyone. My parents came home around 2 a.m. They were in fantastically happy moods, but they believed me once I told my story. I went to bed upstairs in the TV room that night. That thing did not return. I was up the entire night and did not hear a peep, but I don't know how long it will be until I can sleep in my own bedroom again. So that is the end of the story. Did that story give you a little chills? If it kinda did, I'm gonna give you a minute worth of tingles. mic scratches as a break before I tell you the next story. Alright, so I hope you're ready for the second story I'm going to tell. Okay, so this is the second story. The second story is also from the same subreddit of r/nosleep, and the title of this story is called He Watches Her Every Night by mistidaze. Okay, so the story goes like this. Alright. I've never thought twice about the ceiling lights in our upstairs hallway. It's just a simple, outdated fixture with a yellowish bulb that buzzed faintly when it was on. But lately, it is the only thing that warns me he is there. Okay. Without that dingy glow reflecting off of the walls, I may not see the subtle shape on the top of the stairs, the silent watcher who appears each night. My sister's bedroom and mine face each other on opposite sides of a short hallway. She's never liked sleeping with her door closed. Says she gets stuffy and claustrophobic. On most nights, her door is open, revealing her desk, a pile of clean clothes on the floor, and the edge of her bed. Under normal circumstances, that's all it would be. A casual nightly sight, her dozing off with her light turned off. But now she's become a window to something else, okay? The first time I saw him, it was a few weeks ago. I was scrolling through my phone in bed, eyes heavy, the hallway only partially lit by the single overhead fixture at the top of the stairs. My sister's room is dark. Her breathing faintly seeped into the hallway as she slept. I was under my blankets and happened to glance up at the reflection of that light. Sometimes, if the angle is just right, I can see the shadows behind me. That night, I noticed an odd shape near her bedroom doorway. A tall, lean figure standing frozen in the middle of the hallway. Okay. My first thought was that I was imagining it, seeing my own silhouette warped by the poor lightning. Okay. But no, the outline was definitely not me. Mine would be shorter, shaped differently. This figure had broad shoulders and stood about a half a head taller than I am in. It lingered just past the threshold of her room, as if staring right at her, watching her. Not once did it waver or show signs of normal movement. No shifting weight, no breathing, nothing. Only a silent, rigid presence. Fear took over, making my throat tighten. I tried to turn my head, but a wave of dread made me freeze in place. Alright, my throat is still sore, so I'm kind of drinking this to ease my throat. Still need to get rid of this leftover symptoms from the flu. Okay, so back to the story. Okay. I tried to turn my head, but a wave of dread made me freeze in place. My mind whirled. Could Dad be awake? But why would he stand there? Stand there like that in the dark, watching her sleep? It didn't make sense. My heart pounded. After a few panicked moments, I forced myself to turn on the bedside lamp. The hallway brightened instantly, but when I turned to look, the figure was gone. The only sound was the sound of a faint buzz of the overhead bulb, like it was taunting me. The next morning, I told my sister about the shape, the man. She shrugged it off. She assumed I had a nightmare and teased me for reading too many horror stories online. Our parents were equally dismissive. Mom said maybe I saw the shadow of a coat rack or some weird reflection that could have projected a shadow like that. Dad insisted no one was awake that late and all of the doors were locked. I wanted to let it go, but he measured. I wanted to let go, be measured, but deep down, I felt that rolling tension, the memory of how real that shape seemed. Okay. The second night, I kept my bedroom light off, determined to see if it would happen again. And sure enough, right around midnight, I noticed it in the reflection on the overhead fixture. The same tall figure, again outside her open door, just watching. My skin prickled as if I'd walked into a freezer. He was so still that I wondered if it might be a life-size cutout. but even cutouts shift a little in changing light, and this figure seemed to absorb darkness. I sensed a watchfulness, a concentrated presence, like it was listening to her every breath. What did he want? I wanted to call out to him, to break the spell, but fear clamped my lungs. All I managed was a faint whispered, "Hello." At that moment, I saw the overhead light flicker, and the figure was no longer visible in that reflection. I sat there for a solid 5 minutes, adrenaline pumping, barely breathing, expecting him to step forward, but the hallway stayed still. Eventually, exhausted, I drifted off to sleep, though every tiny creak of the house startled me awake. By the third night, my nerves were shot. I was so tired. I tried to keep an eye on her doorway from my own bed, but I eventually dozed off again. A sudden sense of being watched startled me awake. My phone, half charged, laying on my chest. I tapped the screen to check the time. 3:12 a.m. My gaze went to the overhead lamp. He was there again, ink black at the reflection in high contrast. It was becoming a cruel routine. He'd appear, stand perfectly still, and vanish at the slightest movement or change of lights. Okay. My whole body shook with anxiety. Heat pounded. I could barely breathe, but I couldn't just hide. I needed proof, or I needed to do something. I crept out of bed, ever so slowly, crossing the short distance from my bed to the door as silently I could. Each step made the floorboards groan under the carpet. My sister's soft breathing was deadly, oblivious to the danger I sensed. Tiptoeing to my sister's door, I slowly raised my phone. The darkness pressed in around me. The overhead fixture cast a weak glow, and in that half-light, I saw movement. Okay. It felt like an electric charge swirled around me. The hair on my arms and on the back of my neck stood up. My phone's camera was open, but it wouldn't focus. Before I could even snap a photo, I felt something brush past my shoulder, like the air itself moved around me. My sister jolted awake, letting out a gasp. I tumbled into her room, almost dropping my phone. Inside, everything looked normal. Piles of books and clothes, her bed with rumpled blankets. My sister blinked drowsily. "What are you doing?" she mumbled, rubbing her eyes. Okay. Yeah. Alright. I tried to focus a calm tone, lying that I thought I heard footsteps. Maybe Dad checking on us. Okay. She muttered something about weird dreams and laid back down, drifting off again. I left her door as it was, though part of me wanted to slam it shut for the rest of the night. She muttered something. No. Okay. Going back here. Okay, now here it is. I retreated back to my bed, wide-eyed, pulse racing like I just sprinted a mile. I didn't sleep until dawn. Streaked the sky. If he'd return, I didn't see him, but my nerves twanged with leftover adrenaline until morning. Over the following week, the pattern repeated. I'd sense him around midnight, see that tall silhouette in the overhead light's reflection, and freeze. Sometimes he'll linger there for minutes, sometimes only seconds, before disappearing, as though he had never existed. Each time, a knot of dread coiled tighter in my stomach. Yet no matter how many times I leaped out of my bed, flickered on a light, or shone my flashlight, I could never catch him in the act. He left no footprints, no evidence, but my shaky recollection and the cold sweat around my neck. I still had no proof for them to believe me. My sister seemed oblivious, going about her day with her normal routine of streaming shows and texting friends. A few times I considered demanding she sleep with her door closed. But how could I explain why without sounding insane? There's a shadow man watching you in the reflection of the hallway light every night. I barely believed my own words, so I said nothing. One evening, I mustered the courage to talk to Dad and ask if he ever paced the hallway at night. He looked concerned and said no. Maybe I was anxious about upcoming tests or spooking myself with too much true crime. I didn't press it. I knew I was alone with this. Over time, the dread evolved into something heavier. Every time I saw that silhouette, it seemed a tiny bit closer to her doorway, like he was edging forward day by day. That's what terrified me the most. I became convinced that if one night, if I did not keep watch, if I fell asleep or was gone for the night, he might take a single step into her room. What would happen then? Would she be missing in the morning, replaced by an empty bed? Or worse, her lying there, pale and unresponsive? My imagination fed into the unknown, conjuring horrors I didn't dare to speak aloud. So each night, I sat up, phone in hand, forcing my eyes to remain open. The reflection in that old light fixture became my lifeline. As long as I could see him standing in the hallway, just out of reach, I told myself my sister is safe. He wouldn't dare cross into the room while I watched. The big question loomed. Why hadn't I told her? Was I protecting her by staying silent? Or just giving myself an excuse not to face the possibility we are dealing with something beyond reason? On the worst nights, I drift off for a moment, then snap awake in terror. My heart would flutter as I checked the overhead glow of the light for his shape. Sometimes I found him instantly, as he'd never left. Other nights, the hallway would be empty, leaving me with the dread that he'd finally gone inside. I'd rush into her room, half crazed, only to find her safe every time. The sense that he is waiting never goes away. I can't shake the feeling that each nightly visit is building to something final, something irreversible. And so, I keep my vigil. I stare down that reflection, gripping my blankets, forcing myself to stay alert while the rest of the house sleeps. I have no plan if he actually steps forward or if he appears at my door instead. The idea of confronting him feels impossible. All I could do is cling to this uneasy stalemate. As long as I watch him from my bed, he won't move. I know deep down that I can't keep my eyes open forever. One night, fatigue will get the better of me, or I'll step away for a moment. And I can't begin to describe the fear of imagining what he'll do if I'm not there. If he's free to advance those last few feet into her room. Until then, I remained her, propped up against those pillows, phone battery draining into the early hours. In the hallway, the glow of that old light flickers, and sometimes in its reflection, I see him shift slightly, like a predator testing boundaries. Always there, always watching. And if I fail to watch back, if I lose track of him, even for a second, my fear tells me exactly what might happen next. And that's the thought that truly keeps me awake. So that's the end of the second story, which will wrap up the stories I told you. So tell me in the comments which story has creeped you the most. And yeah, I hope this gives you tingles. Hopefully if you're not too scared, hopefully this video does not make you too scared. This is just for like the fun of the creeps, okay? If you enjoyed this video, if you get your tingles, a thumbs up will be appreciated. And hopefully you'll be able to sleep and start paying your sleep debt and eventually pay off the full balance of your sleep credit card. So, if this video reaches 20 likes, not 20, maybe, let's give it 10, I'll be sure to make another part where I tell you more scary stories from Reddit. So 10 likes, 10 equals another video of telling you scary stories from Reddit. So the links of the stories are in the description. And yeah, so stay tuned for the next video, and I will see you next time.